Alrighty, good morning, friends. This is Dennis Miracle. Today I'm going to be making a bag I'm calling the Amsterdam bag. And it is a horizontal bag like I usually make instead of a vertical. Let me show you what you need. You need 2 pieces of lining fabric cut 7 by 11. You need a piece of fabric for the back side of the bag cut 7 by 11. You need 2 pieces of fabric, coordinating fabrics for the front side of the bag, and I'm going to be using these 2 pieces. And you need 2 pieces of batting, and those are all cut 7 by 11. You need 2 pieces of batting, 1 cut 6 by 11 and 1 cut 7 by 11. And you need a zipper, and this is an extra long one, but it's the only one I had in a color that was halfway matching. But you shouldn't need, since these are 10 inches across, you should need maybe a 12-inch zipper, at least a 12-inch zipper. But this is like 18, which is clearly too long, but that's all I had. And then you need, if you want to put a little attachment for a wristlet strap, you need a device like this. This is a piece of grosgrain ribbon cut 3 inches long with a key ring stuck in between, and then I just staple the top together to keep it from moving when I'm sewing it, when it's being sewn down. So I think that's, of course you need thread and the regular implements we use when we're sewing. So anyhow, that's that, and let's get started. I have taken already and run the first step for the bag. There are 12 steps, I believe. And so here's what we've got so far. And let me see if I can position this better. All right, I hope you can see this. It's kind of light, but it's the thread's an orangish, light orangish color. So what we need to do first is we need to get our zipper, and I put the head of the zipper over to the left side. And if your zipper is a number 3 zipper, it should fit. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 lines that have been sewn. If you have a number 3 zipper, it should fit perfectly between lines 1 and 4. Lines 2 and 3 is where the actual stitching will take place in the next step, step 2. So let's take and let me move this just a little that way. Okay, let's take and tape this down. Like so. And then I put, as you're seeing, I put one at the right and one at the left, and I put a small piece of tape at the very edge here in the center of the zipper. And so I'm going to put this back in my machine, and the zipper will be sewn down in step 2. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. All right, you can see that the zipper has been sewn down. I'm going to now take this huge hanging part, 6 inches that hangs over of this zipper, and cut it down to something more manageable. And that's taken care of, and I can throw that away. All right, the next thing you need to do is take and turn your hoop over to the back side. What is that? What the heck is that? Something got caught in there. Oh well. Take your first piece of lining fabric. Trying to dig mine out over here, and put it face down. Match the edge of the fabric with this bottom line here, and make sure you're okay on the sides, so everything is covered on the sides. And go ahead and tape this down. There's one piece, two piece, and three pieces there. All right. Now, pick up your hoop and let your fabric fall over to the front of the hoop, your lining fabric, and take your lining fabric and just fold it over several times, and take and use a piece of tape and tape it to the frame of the hoop, because we need that to stay out of the way for a good number of steps. So that takes care of that. All right, now take your whatever is going to be, if you're looking at the pattern on your machine, whatever is going to be the top part of your design, whatever fabric you're going to use for the top part of your design, take that fabric now and do as we did on the back side. Line the fabric. I'm using this pretty avocado green, and line it up with the edge of the zipper and tape it down. All right. Now take this to your machine, and the next step, step 3, we'll just run a line of stitches along here, attaching the lining and this front piece of fabric to your zipper. So go ahead and do that, and I'll be back in a moment. All right, step 3 has been run, and we can see it's sewn down the front piece of fabric. And let's turn it over to the back. And you can see that it has sewn down the back piece of fabric, and it's fine. So turn it back to the front and take that smaller piece of batting that I said to cut 6 by 11, take it and just place it directly, an eighth of it. Oh, that's not it. That's a bigger piece. Here it is. Place it right under the, maybe an eighth of an inch under the line of stitches, and take this piece of front fabric and pull it down tautly, and take your iron, if you're using fabric, and give it a little press, because I like to see a nice crease there right at the top here. All right, now put this back in the machine, and this is going to, the next step, step 4, is going to just basically go around all 4 sides and sew it down so it stays put when we do the quilting and the satin stitching. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back in a moment. All right, you can see that what I said would happen has happened. It has sewn down on all 4 sides just to keep everything in place. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to stick this back in the machine, and it's going to run a placement stitch for the second piece of fabric on the front. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, now you can see the placement stitch, and you want to take your whatever you're going to use for your front fabric, and let me see what that's going to. Hey, this will be right here, and take it and place it. Well, just basically covering the design. Let me see. I'm going to pull that up just a little bit. So that looks fine. And go ahead and put this in your machine again and let it, the next step, step number 6, is going to sew this down. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back in a moment. All right, step number 6 is completed. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my applique scissors and start right here at the edge and just cut in. And we want to remove this top piece, so I'm going to cut right like this, and right off the side, because we want to keep this portion down here, but we want to get rid of this top portion so we can see the pretty avocado fabric underneath it. So go ahead and remove this top portion, cut as close as you can to the stitches without cutting into them. But if you get cut into them, one or two or so, it's not going to be the end of the world. It'll be okay. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back in a moment. All right, you can see I have trimmed away the top portion, and you see what we have left. And the next step will be to put it in the machine and run step 7, which is the satin stitching. So I'm for once proud of, I did a pretty good job of cutting close to the stitching, which I usually don't do. And so I feel good about this one. So go ahead and stick this in your machine and run step 7 and meet me back here. All right, the satin stitching has been completed, and now I'm going to take and place my pressing cloth over the design, and I'm going to give it a little press with my iron, but I didn't want to put it directly on the satin stitching. All right, let's see how that looks. Okay, better. Okay, now the beautiful quilting is going to start, and it's going to start here on this top piece, which is step number 8. So let me go ahead and put it in and take care of that, and I'll be back in a moment. All right, you can see that step 8 has completed. Step 9, we'll put some other pretty quilting down here on this bottom portion. So let's go ahead and put that back in and run that, and I'll meet you back in a bit. All right, step number 9 has been completed. You see the pretty stitching here on the bottom. All the quilting has been completed. What we're going to do now is release the lining up here at the top, take off that piece of tape and let it fall back to let the piece of lining fabric fall back to the back of the design where it belongs, and remove this tape. There's tape right here. Remove this tape and remove it over here on this side also, and pull it down, and then tape it again, tape it back down here. I'm using this same tape to just put it back down where to hold it down for the next step, which is step 10. And also I'm going to take and open this zipper at this point. Let me see. I'm just going to take the back of my my thumbnail and push this along here and remove that. There we are. Looks good. Okay. Now let's put this in the machine and run step number 10, which will sew down this piece of lining. All right, step number 10 is completed. Let's turn it over to the back to make sure that it did sew down the lining. Yes, it did. It looks fine. So let's go back to the front of the hoop, and now we need to take off this piece of tape that originally held the zipper down, put it somewhere, get rid of it, and open up your zipper 3/4 of the way over. And now I want to take this piece of, well, what did I do with it? There we are. I want to take my little connector point and attach it right here at the corner. And so tape that down. Okay, and then make sure that you tape the metal piece down, or there will likely be, or could be, a Well, that piece of tape is shot. Okay, could be a real problem. So, all right, I've taped that down. So now take your piece of fabric you're going to use for your back, for the back of the bag. And I'm using, of course, this same fabric, and this is the correct orientation. So take it, and I'm just going to fold it over this way so it keeps the same orientation. Take it and place it face down over the design, and I actually cut it a little bigger than 7 by, I think I might have cut it maybe 8 by 11, but 7 by 11 would have been fine. So go ahead and always make sure that your fabric is at least 1/4 of an inch above the edge of the zipper. And then take your other piece of batting and place over that. Let me see. Like this. And take and put this in your machine and run step number 11. All right, we're down to the last step. As you can see, it has sewn, basically closed the bag up. Thankfully, we did put our zipper in. That was one of the most important things. Our zipper is now right here. I can feel the head of it. So we're going to take and turn the hoop over to the back and put our last piece of fabric, which is the other piece of lining fabric. We're going to place it face down over what is already here. And as I always say, make sure you are at least 1/4 of an inch above this top line here. So let me put it maybe right there. Make sure you're okay on the sides also. And tape it down at the 4 corners, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we'll stick this in the machine and sew this last part down, and we'll be done with the sewing. Okay, I'm going to put it in and sew the next part. Be right back. All right, the last step was run, step number 12, so let's turn it over and look and see, make sure that worked out okay. Yes, it did, and as you see, it left a nice a big gap to turn the bag through. So that's what it was supposed to do. Now we're going to take and unhoop this. So take it out of your hoop, and let me see, I always check to make sure there's no pieces of tape attached to my hoop or the bed of my machine. No, there's not. Let's see about this piece. No. Okay, that's good. All right, now I always trim from the lining side, and you can see the 2 pieces of lining here. So get your good, start to say cigarettes, get your good scissors, and I start over here. I simply cut in at an angle, right up to about 1/4 of an inch of this area right here. So let's do that. All right, then I take and turn and head back this direction, 1/4 of an inch away. I hope this is in the camera. Yes, it is. And then going on around here, down the side. Oops, let's see, I missed half of it. And that happens frequently. All right. And then coming to the around the last bend here, cut right up to where the stitching stops, right there, and then go in at an angle, right like this, and there. All right, now I've thrown all those pieces away. They have no purpose to serve at this point. Now the next thing we need to do, we need to do a little more trimming. So take and pull back your first piece of lining and pull back your second piece, and everything here, this is my stabilizer, batting, fabric, more stabilizer, all of that needs to be cut away. So take your good scissors and don't cut into the lining itself, but just cut right above it, about 1/8 of an inch, as close as you can without cutting into the lining, and just go ahead and remove all of that there. All right, and throw that away. Now, what we're going to do at this point is we're going to, let me turn my iron on again. We're going to turn the bag out through this big gap. Okay, let me make sure. Okay, all right. And now I'm going to give it a little press. Just to... Okay. Now take and fold in this shorter piece of lining, just like I'm doing, and press it so it'll hold itself in. And then take the longer piece of lining and tuck that inside, making sure these little corner pieces go off to the side over here. Okay. All right. And then take your iron and give that a press. Okay. Okay. Now, you need to take this to your sewing machine and sew between where my fingers are, because you need to close this gap up here. It's finally time to do that. So let's go to our sewing machines and just run a line of stitches across right at the very edge here, closing up the bottom of the bag, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm finished sewing the bottom together, and let me take my clippers and clip off these two pieces of thread here and turn it over and clip off this piece of thread here. And where did I have another piece? Because I ran out of bobbin midway and had to start over. All right, so we don't have any pieces of thread. We just have, now that's okay. Nobody's going to notice that. All right, now we're done. Let's turn the bag out. Let's reach in first and take out that tape that held down our key ring. Open your zipper as far as you can get at this point, and open the bag. And let's see what we've created. Okay. Push that out there. Push this out like this. Okay. All right. Okay. Take and use your fingers and come out of there and turn the zipper in. Just mold it with your fingers the way it should lay. So there we are. And then take and close your zipper and just kind of press it the way you want it to look, which is quite beautiful. Now take your pressing cloth and place over it. And let's give it a good press so it will stay nice and look nice and crisp. Okay, and get off there. Okay, and do the same here on the back. Okay, I think that looks nice. That's pretty. And here's what we have. I do have back panels of this single lines with diamonds, I call it. And I do have this floral panel number 2. I call this part, if you want to get something for the back instead of having a plain back like this. You can let me know if you're interested. And anyhow, I think it's beautiful. I think the colors go together very well. This color over here is not not the right color, but that's the best I could do at the time. Anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed watching me make this. I really love making my little bags. And if you purchase the pattern, I hope you'll make something beautiful for yourself or a friend, family, loved one. And I want to always take time to thank those who continue to support me and encourage me to continue making these little bags that I make. I have a faithful group of folks who enjoy them. Anyhow, I hope you have a great weekend. It's the weekend of New Year's, of the new year, first weekend of the year. And so I thank you so much. And I'll be back next day or two with another bag. You have a great day. Bye-bye.